So we just wrapped up what might be the most granular call we've gone through. So the premise of this week was pain is overrated on sales calls, and we well and truly pulled apart the topic.
Yeah, look, I think the headline there is a bit of a got your attention. Now we might bait and switch you a little bit. Pain is very important on sales calls, but I think the key lesson is looking at it from an approach that you've got to hit them over the head with pain from the very, very start and like just keep hammering. There are calls where that's the play, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of calls, especially if you ascend into higher offers with higher caliber prospects, people that have had success, people that have options, people that have been around the block, people that are pretty savvy. There's a much more nuanced way of extracting pain, and it's probably a little bit different to what you think and maybe to what you've seen. And we do go granular. We did some pretty detailed examples in this one. So, yeah, it was a fun call. Unscripted as always. I didn't think we'd go there, but we did, and I'm really keen to get viewers' feedback on this one. What about you, James? How did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. It was a good call. I've just noticed there's a little bit of a delay in our video, so sorry for anyone watching. No, it was good. It was good. We went through difference of opinion and we realized it was just, a couple of different ways of going about the same thing. But what we'll do for this one as well is I said this at the end, I'm going to put an AI summary below. That's going to be the content of this podcast, because we did get pretty granular. So make sure you read through that, even have it open as you go, and then just watch through the video for the context. But look, this is a really enjoyable one. If you like this granular, let us know in the comments, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good, James.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about today? Anything in particular?
That's a good question. I was going to ask you the same thing. What do you want to talk about today? What about pain is overrated? i.e. the belief that all sales have to equal, expose the pain, expose the gap, close the deal. I think pain is overrated from selling. There's a time and a place for it, and on some sales it absolutely underpins it. But it's one of many, many, many possible motivations.
I think,
and even by extension, need. Even by extension, need. Want. Don't forget about want. Want is very powerful. And want actually can actually get you to need. Like, you wouldn't get someone to be able to say, I need this, but you could get them to say, I want this. But then when you peel back want far enough, it actually becomes a need. But you couldn't get there directly. So want can actually be a gateway to get you to a need. Just a thought. A couple of my posts this week have sort of touched on that. And I got involved in a chat with Josh Braun, I think his name is, on LinkedIn about that. So that's where that's coming from.
All right.
That's an idea.
Into it. Let's do it. That's the topic. But I'm going to add a little bit of a different angle on it. I'm not going to say pain is overrated. I still think it is, but I think pain is misunderstood.
Pain overrated would be, without question, a cry for attention. It wouldn't be necessarily the accurate representation of it, but I think so many salespeople think sales only live where pain lives and need lives, and big gaps live, and they can and do live in those spaces. Don't get me wrong, but there's so many other areas they live as well.
Explain that.
Well, I mean, if you look at the keywords I just said then, so need. What about wants? People can be motivated to take action based on wants. Wants can actually really be needs, but it can look and feel like a want. But when you peel it back far enough, there actually is a need underpinning it, but it might look and feel like a want on surface level. So if you came at it purely from a need...
Just quickly before we go too far down the tangent, because we love them. So the general consensus with sales and the quotes by some of the most well-known sales trainers out there is that nothing will motivate a person more than escaping pain. So therefore, every sales script is set up to create pain in their current situation. Even if perhaps there isn't much or any at all, the typical sales process is to generate as much pain as possible in that person's life so that they have no decision other than to buy what you're selling. So the purpose of this is to say that that's not the only way. There are a lot of other ways to motivate an individual.
Sure. I mean, that way does exist, don't get me wrong. On some offers, in some situations, that is the play, no question. But I think the mistake would be if you were to think that approach is always the approach, and that can only be, the way to put together a sales call, to focus on pain, to expose need, get this massive gap. Consequences like time and a place, absolutely, but there are other factors in play. There are other ways to make a sale. I mean, if you just look at the start point, there are 5 reasons. I don't know you know this, but for the viewers that don't, there are 5 key reasons why people can buy. Number 1 is the first 2 are pain based, the second 2 are pleasure based, and the 5th one is curiosity. So away from pain, present tense, right now, my house is on fire right now, like get me out of this house on fire. Pain, future tense, my house is not on fire now, but I know if I don't fix that hole, it will be on fire tomorrow. So let's fix it today so it doesn't be on fire tomorrow.
So avoiding future pain.
Avoiding future pain, yeah, absolutely. Pleasure, and when you say pleasure, it can be other positive emotions as well. Aspiration, but let's just say pleasure. Positive emotions, same thing, present tense, I want it now. Future tense, I want it tomorrow, or in the future, or one day. And the 5th one is curiosity. People do buy just off curiosity. Now, that's by far the 5th of the 5 categories. But some people have plenty of time, have plenty of money, have plenty of ability, and plenty of willingness to just buy things purely out of curiosity. So that does exist, but really the first 4 is where 98% of your sales are going to be. But it's not always about pain at all. And it would be wrong to focus an entire sales call on pain in certain situations. If you're selling an aspirational type offer to the 1 to 100 crowd, people with options, people where good things are happening and they want to step on the gas and make even more good things happen, it'd be wrong to come at that sort of hitting them over the head looking for pain. That would not be the right approach.
That's not going to go down well, especially because those people, to get to the position they are, have been through hundreds, if not thousands, of sales calls, and maybe even conducted them themselves. They know what's happening.
Yeah, it'd be a buzzkill as well. Like, if you rock up in a Ferrari, you're not going to, and you're talking about, I don't know, doing some sort of upgrade on the Ferrari to make it even cooler, maybe a particular paint upgrade. You're not going to beat them over the head with, if you don't get this paint upgrade, you're going to lose your Ferrari tomorrow. Like, no. That's not why they've come in. Like, don't go for pain and don't try to make it an away from sale. Talk about how much cooler the car's going to look, and how much better it's going to go and what happens next. Like, talk about cool stuff, because they're on an upward trajectory and they want to step on the gas and get more upward momentum. So to be complete kill or buzzkill, that's the word I'm looking for, to hit them over the head with pain and negativity. Now, you can go positive, 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 and then give just a little insight into negativity if they weren't to do it or it didn't work out right. But that's like maybe 10% of the call. 90% should be, where are we going? Why is it important? What happens next? What does it enable? What does it unlock?
I think most of it is in the contrast for me. As in, you don't necessarily have to build pain. So if you're speaking to a very high level person, you're going to talk about where they're going, what they want to do, what that looks like, why they're there. And for me, most of the sale is made in the contrast between, okay, so if that's where you want to go, how is that different to how things are right now? And you're not trying to build pain in the present. You're trying to build a contrast, because that person, if you try and hit them with pain at the start, it's just, what are they going to say? I'll go and cry in one of my Lamborghinis. At the end of the day, you start trying to build pain. Whereas if you take them, where do you want to go? What does that look like? What does that give you? How is life different? Build them up to that, and then contrast it with now. But there is that saying of the biggest motivator in an individual is to avoid pain. I don't think that's true, because I know there's been a lot of research lately that has suggested, and a lot of really good sales trainers and influence professionals, you'll say, like Chris Voss, that are actually saying that it's the current pain is a big motivator, but it's the loss of future gain, which is also a massive motivator. So if you've already painted a big, beautiful picture of heaven, where they're going to go, what it's going to look like, and then they realize that they can't do it without you, you then become the conduit that will stop them from that future loss. And it's not like, oh, you can't get this without me, but asking them questions until they realize, like, oh, I can't actually get to everything that I've just painted out without this guy. I kind of knew that coming onto the call, but I'm pretty clear about that now. Let's see what that path looks like.
Yeah. So in the example you just gave then, that would be avoidance of future pain, the future pain of not getting to heaven. But the primary motivation is to ascend those stairs and go to paradise. But on the flip side, they also don't want it.
It's not future pain. No. So
I think as a secondary,
I don't consider not
not
attaining heaven as future pain.
Okay, go on.
Mm. I don't think it's the same thing. So
Okay.
future pain, in the way that I view it, is a consequence. As in, if you keep doing what you're going to do now, where could you end up? And at the end of the day, they might still have 100 million
Yep.
in the bank and a garage full of Ferraris. It's like, oh, look, this is where I'm going to end up. Future is not pain.
Yep.
But not
Yep.
being able to obtain or achieve where they want to go, which is above this, I don't see that as pain. It's like, yeah, if I get there, that'd be really cool. This is kind of where I want to go. Are you able to help me get there? Is different to this is where you'll end up if I don't help you. Nuances.
Yeah, sure, which is where the fun part of these conversations can be. So in the example you've given, I would view that firstly as a towards sale, towards pleasure to ascend the stairs. But as a secondary factor in play, I ideally want them to tell me that it will hurt if they don't ascend those stairs. Why? Because their identity will be affected negatively and life won't be as good as it could be, and that causes them a degree of pain. So there is some pain involved, but it's a secondary. Like the first mover is get me up those stairs and get me to heaven. But on the flip side, I definitely want to go up there, because if I don't, that's going to totally suck. So both are in play. There's like a dichotomy, so I like it when there's a tension, when you can get both. But for that particular call, using the example you've created, my start point wouldn't be bang them over the head with pain if they don't go up those stairs. It'd be, how good's life going to be when you get up there, and what are you prepared to do to make it happen? On the flip side, do you really have to go up, or is it not that big a deal? Oh, no, I definitely have to go up. Main reason being, well, if I don't go up, it's going to totally suck and be totally outside. So here comes some pain. But that was the secondary effect. So I would say there is some pain in that. But the key point here was, I'm not beating them over the head with pain. I'm not building the entire call off pain. It's more like, you talked about contrast before. It's showing a contrast. So I'm really clear where you want to go, James, and the reasons why you want to go there, and how great life is going to look when you get to the stairs and ascend it. Just on the flip side, what happens if you don't ascend those stairs or fall over on the way? Is that okay, or not a big deal, or is that a bit of a big deal? Oh no, that's a crisis. Yes, some pain comes. So we've got a contrast in play, like the desire to make it happen, but on the flip side, really want to make it happen, because if it doesn't, it's going to suck, i.e. a bit of pain. I like it when that's in play, when you can get that to come out. You can't always.
So we do things a little bit differently there.
You do it different?
The only reason I do things differently. So the reason that I say what I tell most people to be very, very careful trying to do a version of that with successful people, especially when you're starting out, because it's kind of a consequence. You're trying to consequence them, and that is a very, very risky move if people have been on these calls before, because then their radar is going to go off of salesman.
Yep.
So my process is have them build up where they want to go, what it looks like, paint a beautiful word picture of what success looks like to them. So this is where they started, get them to build up to here. And then all I say is, okay, so you want to achieve 1, 2, 3, ABC, X, Y, Z. Does that sound about right? Yep. How does that contrast with how things are right now? So then we're not talking about where they could end up. We're not trying to consequence them. We're trying to they went from a great position. They built up this beautiful picture of what heaven looks like. And then even though they started in a great position, they're now forced to contrast where they are now with where they said they want to be. So it's, you're comparing it with their current situation, which in itself is the contrast. I just think consequencing those people.
There's one.
You're good at it. I've listened to your calls, and we can get away with it. But it's like for anyone starting out, super risky.
Sure. This is advanced stuff we're talking about right now. This is not for day one of your sales career. With the model that you presented, where you go future state and then you bring it back to present state, obviously expose the gap. What I don't know from that still, and this is where my questions will go, which will get me what I just talked about a minute ago, is if it matters enough to put in the work and time and effort and energy and emotion and dollars to close that gap. So my questions are going to go there, and they do go there because I sell to aspirational. I take them to the future, and then I bring them back to the present, exactly the model you just said then, and then I stress test it to make sure the juice is worth the squeeze, because it's going to cost you some money. It's going to cost you some time, effort, emotion, opportunity cost. It won't always be easy. Is the juice worth the squeeze to ascend those stairs? And they'll say yes. And then I'll want to know why. And then we might get some potential future pain that we want to avoid. Because, Michael, if I don't, My competition will, and they'll take me out if I don't make this change. Now we're having some pain, future pain, to be avoided. So we got there. So that's how I think about it. I didn't think we'd go this granular. But the bottom line is, for that type of sale, I wouldn't start with pain and build my entire call around pain. I would absolutely, let's go to the promised land, how life gets better, aspirations, identity, good stuff. Bring it back to present to create a contrast. And then stress test it to make sure the juice is worth the squeeze, because work needs to be done to ascend those stairs. Why does it matter? And in having that conversation, we'll probably get some meat on the bone, and some of it will be avoidance of future pain.
So I even saw a post yesterday by Dean, and he was talking about how the best salespeople, or at least what he's seeing in the market, is a lot of people are deviating away from your typical sales process. And what's working is people are leaning more into being authentically themselves. Give me one sec.
Because you talked about being authentic on the back of Dean's comment. I mean, that's authenticity. There's a kitchen in your house and it's being used right now. You probably hear my dogs on half these calls, which makes it authentic too. Yeah,
I could just hear all the plates and everything clanging.
Yeah. Leave it in. This is unscripted. Leave it in.
Yeah. So anyway, so what he was saying is that, prospects are used to all of the BS. They're used to all of the things that you're saying. You get away with the same canned scripts, and you've got to lean into authenticity. All of this sort of stuff, it kind of comes off the back of knowing what you need to cover on a sales call, what needs to happen for a sale to be made. And the detail that you said before comes back to one of the things: willingness to do the work. So you've created that gap, whether it's between where they want to be and where they are, or where they want to be and where they'll end up, or maybe, one between all of them.
Yep.
But there's not pain in there. You're not, well, what's going on right now? Why is life so bad? Why do you need us?
But remember, pain is not just about present. It's future as well. It's avoidance of future. Look at this podcast, you and I. When you and I decided to do this, 2 months ago, I think it came from a want, from a desire, not from a pain place. There was no present pain either of us were experiencing. We're both doing well, and life is good and all those things. I don't believe there's any pain that drove this sale. But if you were pitching it to me, the way to get me interested would have been to talk about how good it would be, and how much fun it'll be, and what it could potentially unlock, and all that sort of stuff. But you could get some pain out of me. Here's how you do it. You wouldn't get present pain. You'd get potential future pain.
Okay.
Because let's say I was deliberating and not quite committed. You might say, "Hey, listen, Michael, people are going to do this podcast." No, you might say, Michael, I'm going to do this podcast with or without you, respectfully. So here's a question I've got for you. We're 6 weeks in the future, and I'm doing it with, I don't know, who's someone we both know, Matthew Hooton. And you're watching it, and the chance has gone for him to be on this podcast with me. How do you feel? I'm like, well, I don't feel good, actually, because that was my podcast and he took it. He's my good friend. So this is a fictitious example. But I would feel a bit of that was mine. He took it. He didn't take it.
So do you know how
you might get to feel that, and that's a potential future pain that I definitely want, and that might spark me into action. I'm like, no, I don't want to sit and watch this. So, all right, we better do it then. So, because I want to avoid that future pain. I've seen someone in my spot doing my thing.
The reason you started this was future loss. And do you remember what I said? Because we've been talking about you getting into video. So the reason you got into this was future loss. So we've been talking about you getting into video content for a good while. And the reason was, I remember the conversation we had was about how everyone else in the industry, all of your competitors are doing video. And video is the only way, not the only way, but one of the main ways that you're going to stay relevant and be in front of people. And I just said, we're doing this call anyway. And wouldn't it be much better for you to just be generating that video content so that moving forward, you're not the guy that doesn't have any video content?
There you go. Avoidance of future pain. Yep. Or future loss, but the loss then causes pain. Yep. So it's avoidance of future pain. So there you go. If you want to look at it through that lens, and for the sake of this example, you got me on avoidance of future pain, but you didn't do it by beating me over the head with pain. Because if you had led with pain, I probably would have rejected it. Because I would have been like, I'm not in pain. I'm doing well. Like, life's good. Like, you don't There's no need to have a pain conversation. So you go into the pleasure first, and then you kind of through the back door bring in the avoidance of future pain, and then you might actually wake them up.
Mm.
But that's a very different approach to like starting the call and focusing entirely on pain from the very start.
Mm.
You'll lose my interest.
I've had a couple of sales calls in the last year where
Mm-hmm.
you just get your standard salesperson hop on and they try and build pain in
Yep.
right now. And I'm
Yep.
incredibly patient on sales calls. I understand people are learning, but you kind of get to the point where you're like, look,
Mm-hmm.
mate, I'm good. I just want to know what this is about. And then in that moment, you have a
Yep.
flashback to the start of your sales career when someone's just like, mate, can you just tell me what it's about? And you think, oh, that prospect was a bit rude. And then you realize, oh no, they've just been through this hundreds of times. It was me.
Yeah, you cause this. You cause this. More than likely, you cause this. Yeah.
But I think moving forward, pain is going to be more irrelevant, or at least the typical pain that everyone's experienced, because everyone has experienced it. You can't get away with it anymore.
Pain, present or future, is there on most calls in some way, shape, or form. The key point I wanted to make, though, was the one-size-fits-all, lead with pain, look for pain, look to beat them over the head with it, build the whole call off it, often isn't the right approach. It is on some calls, it's often not on others. Often you're better to go positive first towards a better future first, and then sort of pull back the brakes and do a little contrast, and then the pain conversation might actually come up. And often it's avoidance of future pain, which they might not even been aware of was in play until you actually asked them that question and made them realize. Like the example you gave earlier and the fictitious one I made up about Matthew doing this instead of me. I'd never considered that, but now you've put it to me, I'm like, yeah, that actually would hurt. Well, being that I'm going to do it either with you or him and you've got first option, what do you want to do? Oh, I better do it then. See, now you close me. But you had to take me there, and I wasn't seeing that coming or expecting that or anticipating that feeling. But when you brought it to my attention, I felt it, and action came pretty quick after that. A lot of salespeople can't do that or can't structure a call to create that scenario. If you can learn to do it, it will change your world.
What industries do you think will last? I think fitness will last in the pain realm to a certain extent.
Yeah, fitness is mostly about pain, mostly. I mean, you do get people wanting to continue their journey, but even with those ones, you can still find pain. Same tactic we talked about. Yeah, fitness will continue. What do you mean? That's a big question. I mean, that's a big question that probably requires its own podcast. What industries will continue? What in the online world? What period of time?
So continue being relevant to pain.
Well, I think they all will. I think they all will because pain is everywhere.
Okay, let me rephrase the question.
Yeah,
so
please do.
A pain first approach. So when you hop on a call with someone that's needing help with a fitness program or something like that, it's probably because they're unhappy with how things are right now. So I think that one will stick around. Maybe like the AI trading, perhaps, because people come to you. No, I don't think that will.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah. I'm just sort of making this up on the fly. This is what comes to mind. If you were to ask somebody, so what's going on? Why are we speaking? And the first thing that came out of their mind was negative. The first words that came out of their mouth was negative. Like, life sucks at the moment. I'm overweight. I hate my life. Stuff like that. That's if you feel like that's the way the call would go, or it does go that way, that's probably going to be a pain first call. But if on the flip side, if I were to say to you, James, I don't know. James, you've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while and Muay Thai for a while. You mentioned that you want to do some additional martial arts as well. What's going on there? It's unlikely, because I know that you love Muay Thai and I know that you love jiu-jitsu in particular. It's unlikely that you'll lead with pain. You'll just say, well, listen, Michael, I love martial arts so much. I just want to keep learning more. I just love this. See, it's all positive language. I'm not going to start with pain there. So we'll go into your aspirations, but then I'll contrast it and I'll probably expose that something isn't quite connecting as well as you would like in some little area in martial arts and in the martial arts you already do. Let's say that you say, I'm going to go into weapons training because you realize that you're good with your hands, but some scenarios require a weapon. And you've realized that, and you realize that, I don't know, several times per month you put yourself in situations where you could be attacked by a weapon.
On a side note, just on that topic, this is a tangent.
Yes.
One of the guys did some weapons training, and he 3D printed some knives and actually brought them into the gym. And the one thing that I realized, it was such a jarring experience in that if you think you're capable, as soon as someone has a knife, like, and they know what to do in that moment,
there you go.
it was just,
Here's a real life example.
you are
So you
not
go,
in
we
control, just
played
run.
it out. So we just played it out. So that happened. So I know you're happy at Muay Thai and happy at Jiu Jitsu. I know that there's no pain in either of those, but we just did it then in real time, unplanned, unscripted.
Yep.
Let's say that you're going to a dodgy part of town twice a week with your business, and there's bad people often around those areas, and you got a feeling recently that you felt a bit vulnerable because you're pretty sure they had knives and weapons, and you were like, because my jiu-jitsu is, I'm going to be in big trouble if they come at me with knives. You had that realization.
Yep.
I don't necessarily maybe get that from you in the first 5 minutes of our conversation, but I get it from you eventually. And then I get you to future pain. Well, being that you go there twice a month, James, that means you're going to go there like 24 times in the next 12 months. I mean, are you comfortable going there with the skill set you have right now? Or in an ideal world, do you maybe have a little bit more? I mean, what are your thoughts at? Oh, I want to have a bit more. Main reason being, well, to be honest, Mike, I felt a bit vulnerable last week when I went there, and all right, gotcha.
Mm.
Do you think that might happen again, or was that a one-off? Oh, it could happen again. Right, so it's possible there's a scenario in the next 12 months where, I don't know, you're stuck in your car with product and some bad dudes are around, and I don't know, in a worst case scenario, that doesn't quite play out in your jiu-jitsu, maybe doesn't quite stack up. Is that sort of what you're thinking? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Avoidance, future pain. Got you there.
Yep.
But I didn't get you there at the start. Might have been 10, 15 minutes into the call, we got that come out. At the start, you were just like, I love martial arts so much. I just want to keep getting better. I'm just a student of the game, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. But is it enough to get a sale from? Don't know. But when we get that out of you, probably is now. Because 24 times the next year you're going there, and 24 times you're going to feel vulnerable, and you hate that feeling, and you know if one time it goes wrong, it's all over. Mm-hmm. You're going to act on that. Mm-hmm. Here comes a sale. But I got that 10, 15 minutes out into the call, and I didn't start with pain to get it. So starting on wants and desires got the conversation moving and flowing and opening up, but then I kind of hit the brakes and brought you down to the present and then exposed the gap, and we figured out there actually is an avoidance of future pain here. It was just masked in aspiration. But I wouldn't have got that if I had gone for pain at the very, very start. We went granular today, didn't we? This wasn't even scripted. We didn't even know we were going to talk about this 25 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to leave the bit in at the start where we were trying to figure out what we were talking about, or at least just the start of this.
Yes.
We did. This one went granular, very granular.
Probably the most granular of all of them, I'd say. Yeah. And probably the least suitable for like complete beginners in terms of applying it. It's good to start building out your awareness so that there's like, multiple paths to make a sales call hum, but I wouldn't be trying this if you just started.
I'll put a summary. I'll put it through AI, and I'll put a summary to break it down, make it a little bit easier to follow. So we'll go content below context in the video.
Yep. Yeah, I liked your AI summary last week. So if you're open to it, I reckon that'd be a good addition to the weekly installment. You are the AI man. By the way, for those watching, James just released a brand new AI program. I'm sure there'll be a link in the comments, and I've heard it's amazing. So avoid some future pain and consider purchasing it.
Yeah. I appreciate the plug. Perfect spot to leave it. This was a lot of fun, very granular, and I think some people that have been following along for a period of time, they'll be able to grab on, and those that can't, just make sure you read the AI summary down below. That'll give you the content, and then just watch this for context. Yep. Cool. Enjoyed the call. It was fun. I'll see you next week. See you then.